Hello, I am Pradeep Kumar, Professor. Welcome you to the lecture on fluid pressure and its measurement being presented in three parts as listed. Similar to previous module, in this module also, presentation is in conversational mode and with a stress on concepts and practical applications. This lecture will also help those students preparing for various competitive examinations and interviews. Now, let us proceed with the agenda of presentation. In this first part of three-part series lecture on pressure and its measurement, let us discuss some basic aspects of pressure. You might have seen a dam. Why is it so massive? You might have seen locking system in a domestic pressure cooker. Why so lengthy locking system? You might have seen, at least in the news, bursting of water pipes or gas pipes, etc. So, you might have heard so many words like water pressure, soil pressure, wind pressure, wave pressure, blood pressure. We hear this word pressure so many times in a day. What is this pressure? What is its role in our day to day life? Why should we quantify it? Now, let us understand the basics of pressure with the simple examples. Stretch your palm and hold a broad based glass tumbler for about 2 minutes as shown in figure. At the end, I am sure that you must be feeling pain. Next, stand for about 5 minutes without moving on both the feet. Definitely you must be feeling pain in the ankles. These examples make it clear that there is somebody who is causing all these things. Yes, it is the force or that is the weight which is causing pain. Now, let us repeat the above activities with a slight modifications. Replace the broad-based tumbler with a slim tumbler but having same volume of water. Instead of standing on both the feet, stand on only one foot for the 5 minutes without moving. I am sure you must be feeling severe pain in the foot. It is obvious that the force and the area on which it is acting join together to damage with which they come into contact. Yes, they both combinedly called, that is force and the area on which it is acting, they result in pressure. So pressure is defined as normal force exerted per unit area. So it is the compressive force per unit area. Similar to stress in the case of solids, we use the word pressure in the case of fluids. Mathematically, pressure is expressed as F by A, where F is the force and A is the area on which this force is acting, as shown in the figure. Sometimes we may come across a situation wherein force is not uniformly distributed over the area in which it is acting. Then we use the word average pressure, which is expressed as P is equal to dF by dA, where dF is the force acting on a elemental area dA. There are so many ways of expressing the pressure in terms of newtons per square meter, Pascal, bar, atmosphere, all these things. The following list relates or one way of expressing with the other way. The adjacent image demonstrates the expression of an unit. Now, let me ask you a question. Is pressure a vector or a scalar? Usually, we get an impression as if it is a vector. Pressure appears to be vector, but it is scalar, as pressure is same in all directions at a given point. This was postulated by Pascal. Let us see how. Consider a point P in a static mass of fluid at rest as shown in figure. Also consider an infinitesimal wedge shape around it. Let its sides be delta x, delta z and delta s with unit thickness measured into the screen. Further, let Px, Pz and Ps be the average pressures acting along x, z and s directions normal to the faces delta z by 1, delta x by 1 and delta s by 1 respectively. Let theta be the angle made by s direction with the vertical. At this stage, it may be noted that there is no restriction regarding the orientation of the wedge and also magnitude theta. Coming on to the calculation of the forces along x, z and s directions, let capital Px, capital PZ and capital PS be the forces in X, Z and S directions as shown in another figure. The magnitude of the force Px is pressure into area on which it is acting, that is delta Z by 1 as represented by equation 1. Force acting along Z direction, pressure acting along Z direction and the area normal to its direction of action, that is delta X by 1 as represented by equation 2. Now coming over to the force acting along S direction is P capital PS is equal to PS into delta S by 1 as denoted by equation 3. So using equations 1, 2 and 3 we can calculate the forces in respective directions. We are ready with the values of Px, Pz and Ps. However, the direction of Ps is neither vertical nor horizontal. Hence, resolving the force Ps into vertical and horizontal directions with the aid of the figure as shown, component of force Ps parallel to x direction is Psx is equal to Ps into delta S by 1 into sine theta, where theta is the angle made by Ps with vertical. Component of force Ps parallel to z direction is equal to Psz is equal to Ps into delta S by 1 into cos theta as represented by equation 5. Algebraic sum of all the forces in x direction is Px into delta z minus Ps delta S sin theta is equal to 0. This negative sign indicates that both the forces are opposite to each other. Assuming the weight of the wedge to be negligible, algebraic sum of the forces in z direction is equal to Pz delta x minus Ps delta S cos theta is equal to 0. From the geometry of the wedge, delta S sin theta is equal to delta Z, delta S cos theta is equal to delta X. Substituting the equation 8 into equations 6 and 7, then equations 6 and 7 become Px delta Z minus Ps delta Z is equal to 0 or Px minus Ps into delta Z is equal to 0. On similar lines, along z direction, Pz delta x minus Ps delta x is equal to 0 or Pz minus Ps into delta x is equal to 0. Because the size of the element may be negligible but cannot be 0, then Px minus Ps must be equal to Pz minus Ps must be equal to 0. That is, Px is equal to Pz is equal to Ps as represented by equation 12. Pressures in x, z and s direction are same. On similar lines, it can be proved Px is equal to Py is equal to Pz is equal to Ps. However, at this stage it may be recollected that nothing was assumed regarding the direction of Ps and also orientation of wedge. Therefore, pressure is same in all directions. Hence, the pressure is scalar. The same statement can be proved even in the case of fluids in motion provided the shear forces are negligible. The statement that is pressure is same in all directions is known as Pascal's law. Now, let us recapitulate whatever we have discussed till now through a few questions. In the figure below, pressures at points 1, 2 and 3 are same. What is about point 4? The pressure at 4 is not same as that of pressures at 1, 2 and 3 because Pascal's law holds good only if there is no discontinuity of the fluid medium. P1 and P2 are two persons as shown in figure. P1 is standing on the surface of the earth, P2 is standing on the top of the hill. Who will experience higher pressure and why? As shown in figure, the person standing on the surface of the earth is subjected to weight of larger column of air. That's why the person standing on the surface of the earth will experience higher pressure when compared to the person standing on the top of the hill. Let us work out a few multiple choice questions. In a static mass of liquid, pressure at a point depends upon specific weight of liquid, position of the point, shape of the container of the liquid, shape, specific weight of the liquid, and the position of the point. So the answer is A. 1 bar is equal to dash times kilopascals, 10 to the power of 5, 100, 1000 and 0.1. The answer is B, because 1 bar is equal to 10 to the power of 5 pascals or 100 kilopascals. A person with a weight of 75 kilogram force, foot imprint area of 0.025 square meters exerts a pressure of dash kilopascals, 29.43, 3.85, 34.71 and 300. It may be noted that the weight is given in metric gravitational system, whereas the way in which we have to answer is in terms of SI. So the answer is A, 29.43 kilopascals. Why? Snowshoes are made of fluff and also the bottom of the shoe has so many curved designs. The answer is to distribute the weight of the person wearing the shoes onto larger area of contact so that snow will not crush. Edge of the knife is sharp. Why is it so? To cut the things easily, because the force is concentrated on a smaller area, so for the given force more amount of pressure can be generated. What is ideal mechanical advantage? It is a practical application of Pascal's law of designing various instruments with less pressure application, more amount of work can be derived out of a bar and an atmosphere which is larger. One atmosphere is greater than a bar because one atmosphere is equal to 1.013 bar. State any two examples of practical application of Pascal's law. That is hydraulic brake, hydraulic lift, hydraulic ram, hydraulic jack. Summing up the first part of three-part series of this lecture, we had a illustrated discussion on pressure, pressure at a point, various aspects of pressure distribution in the form of Pascal's law, applications through multiple choice questions and problems, and intercepted by questions that may be asked in the interview. Before signing off, I request you to leave your comments in the comment section to enhance communication between us. Like and share the video among your friends and concerned. Subscribe to my channel by clicking the bell icon, the best way of getting updated with the information on the latest videos pertaining to the other topics of fluid mechanics, hydraulics and hydrology in addition to career planning. Thank you very much and wish you an excellent future.